Views expressed in the videos are my observation, analysis of events, persons based on principles of astrology. It's not my intent to predict, forecast absolute outcomes, only suggest how they may unfold. Nothing is set in stone. I could be wrong, but often I'm right. My desire is not to promote fear, only inform about what we see unfolding. It is our wish to prepare our subscribers for events that could affect them, their family, their goals, and their future, to help to prepare for what you may already suspect is happening, and to send a warning shot across the bow and raise a flag of concern. Our goal is to help, not hinder, in these perilous times, to inspire and offer possible direction, and to reveal that a greater plan and purpose are behind all that is happening. Eventually, we will see a brighter day. If you would like to show your appreciation for our work on these videos or this channel, and also the Knowing Whispers channel, you can always click on the word thanks at the bottom of all the videos. Hello everybody, it's Robert Cosmar of the Astrology of Life YouTube channel and over on Facebook, the Robert Cosmar Astrologer profile, as well as over on Substack, the newsletter Knowing Whispers Messages from the Universe. I might do 2 videos today. The 2 videos are basically focusing on 2 different topics. This one here that I'm going to be doing has to do with the potential of what Trump might be facing coming around the 31st of this month. The judge in the trial, the fraud trial, has said that he is going to make a final decision on how many millions that Trump is going to owe about the 31st. So sometime between now and the 31st, we may see this ruling come down on Trump. And I wanted to take a look here to see if there was any astrological factors that are involved in this. And then if I do the second video, it's going to be on Trump's year 2024. And I'm going to be talking about the progressions and the transits that are still in force there, or that will be coming in force, and what that could mean in regards to both the election and also in regards to Donald Trump's life in general. So, let's begin here. This on the inside is the inner chart of Donald Trump, and this is the current secondary progressions. Okay, I'm going to start with this particular chart right here. And when I do the whole year, you'll see that there are several progressed aspects, particularly in the summer months coming into June, July, and August, that are not the kind of aspects you would want if you were trying to run for president of the United States, or anybody for that fact. And it could imply that, there are several court decisions could all come due at that particular point in time, or there may be other troubles that he'll be dealing with financially, legal situations. I mean, mind-boggling stuff. And as I've said many times in many of my videos, not to try to make Donald Trump into some demonic or godlike creature. Okay, I prefer to think of him as a karmic creature. Okay, that he is representing a sickness that really exists and has existed for eons and eons within humanity, that has prevented us from being able to find peace within ourselves and within the world, and to reconcile many of the problems in the world in regards to how our world has, what it's become at this point. So, the first thing I want to point out here in this particular chart is the progression of his Venus squaring his Saturn. Okay? Now, this type of aspect is not good for finances. It's not good for really almost anything in the financial area. It probably connotates a certain loss in that regards. It doesn't do your marriage very well, as well. Your relationships, your personal intimate relationships. We know that here recently he lost like 3 of his attorneys that were helping him with this fraud case. Okay, and basically they just kind of, took their hands and said, well, we've done everything we can do. You won't listen to us. Now it's up to the judge and whatever he decides at that point. Okay, so this is kind of what's going on. And again, when it comes to progressions, most astrologers try to make the orb for these things as tight as possible, because you're talking about a very compact period of time here, although there are some that will put the period of time as the year before, the year during, and the year after. So it's going to cover pretty much everything in regards to Donald Trump. Down here, his progress Uranus opposing his moon. Okay, this is one of those aspects of agitation. This is one of those things that lasts quite a long time because Uranus moves very slow. So it kind of connotates interiorly what it is that he is thinking and what he is feeling and how he is coping. When you don't see him, for example, out in front of the crowd, okay, his MAGA followers kind of preaching the gospel of hate and doom and whatever you want to call it, when he goes to court, you're seeing a different energy. You're seeing a different face of a different person, really. And this is the situation that I think is most troubling, is that there is definitely an energy about the man that is deceptive, that is false, and in its deepest, darkest sense, that is, I think, dangerous. Okay? So, these particular factors are what are going on, okay, at this particular time in his life. And I'm going to go ahead and move forward here to another. All right. This is January the 31st. These are the transits, okay, that are essentially in effect at this time. And, of course, you'll see here that Saturn is transiting into his 7th house. It's also transiting his 7th house in his Vedic chart. Not good for relationships. Saturn, or the 7th house, also rules lawyers. Not good for lawyers. Okay? And you can see over here that there are many things going on that could have an impact upon his finances and upon the perceptions that people have. Okay? I know that for my subscribers, those of you that watch my videos, I'm sure there's an amount of you that are not concerned about what's going to happen. You feel like that the legal system will take care of Donald Trump. And then there are those of you who, like myself, are a little bit concerned that this man, his purpose, his mission, his karma, fate, and destiny are much more combative, dangerous than what we would like to admit to ourselves. It's pretty human not to want to think about the darker, ugly side of things. But we know from experience and from the news that dark, ugly things happen every day around the world, and that America has been fortunate, not to have ever had, except for the Civil War, to have had a war here in this particular country. But these aspects here, on the day supposedly, let's say that Judge Ergonon, I think is his name pronounced. I probably didn't do it right, but I'm trying. But if it is the 31st, if he waits till the very last day to figure out what he wants to do, on that particular day, Mars squares Jupiter. Okay? Not a good sign for a legal conclusion for Donald Trump, because Mars rules his 9th house. Okay? Fortunately for him, in both his Western and his Vedic chart, Jupiter is in the 9th house, which is the most fortunate house in the Vedic system. So, what you see going on here with that is that you see the tremendous amount of adversity between him and other people. Okay? In his Vedic chart, for example, in the 1st house is Mars, in the 7th house is Saturn, and they both aspect one another. So, this is this tremendous judicial, legal nightmare that the man's going through. But you also have these little wins that he has. Jupiter being in the 9th house, in the Vedic system, it's a protective influence, or it balances things out, as all things do in astrology. But on that particular day, Mars not only squares his Jupiter, but it also opposes his Saturn, indicating that there will be some kind of restrictive judgment, okay, placed upon his ability to act, to do business, okay? Now, Mars is also approaching trining the midheaven, so it's possible that whatever the decision the judge makes, that he doesn't totally lay waste to Donald Trump. You know, the fear that he generates is such a visceral fear that people have about him, and it's reflective on his followers and the veracity with which they, you know, are willing to hate, is that it creates a imbalance, a perceptive imbalance. I think in some ways that's actually just and fair. Okay, you know, there is that feeling inside, that guttural feeling inside of like you just like the man to be gone from the planet type thing. And as I've mentioned many times in my other videos and stuff, you know, and hopefully you're listening to this, Donald Trump is simply a symbol of a sickness. Okay, but he is not, okay, the cause of the fear or of what is going on in the country. That fear is already in us, whether you're a MAGA follower or you're a Democrat. Okay? It is the fear of ourselves. It is the fear of life. It is our ignorance of life. Okay? It is our unawakened state. It's our refusal to grow as a world, as a country. And we're all coming down to this point. You know, call it a day of judgment if you want to call it. You know, there's other names for it. Scientists will call it something else. But it is essentially a sense that we are reaching the end, you know, of a way of doing things, and that something else has got to occur. Now that I've said all that, I'm going to say some of the good stuff that I can share with you. Okay? I think over the last month, I've seen and I've felt a change about what could be going on. I feel that a lot of those that watch my videos, you sense this, okay? But maybe you haven't yet sensed it to the point where you feel like there is a possibility here, there is hope here. And what I'm talking about is that when an individual consciously begins within themselves to reconnect with their higher self or their guidance, okay? At the moment that happens and they begin to see, understand, accumulate knowledge and wisdom that comes from that guidance, okay? One of the first things that happens to you is that you begin to realize you can change your life. You may have spent your entire life believing in a doctrine or believing even as a New Age metaphysical person, okay, in magic or, you know, whatever you were drawn to, okay, but you never quite had that aha moment, okay? You never quite truly, totally, completely believed, okay, because you were still believing. You didn't know, okay? And in the process of awakening, as we allow that awakening to develop, what's going to happen is that maybe for the first time in your life, you're going to realize that you and I, within us, are the power that has made this world the way that it is, and we have the same potential to change it into something else. Okay? But it is a matter of personal responsibility, of understanding how life works, how the concept of good and evil function, how the world is, the universe is, in regards to that. And my sense is that there is hope that we will not have to go through the severity of what could come about, right? But it will require a massive awakening to a level to where the doubt and the fear evaporate because something within inside of us has been reborn, okay? And again, all conflict is an opportunity for conscious growth. Okay? But if we fear and hate, and that is not somehow relieved, then the worst the worst your imagination and my imagination could ever crank up is possible. It's as possible for us to destroy democracy in this country as it is possible for us to rejuvenate, repair, and create with a higher level of awareness to take us further into the future. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, okay? That same day, okay, we have Mercury opposing Saturn, all right? Mercury opposing Venus. Donald's not going to be terribly happy. Okay, again, the Saturn factor here. Judgments, okay, frustration, all these types of things going on, okay. Mars, again, squaring Jupiter here. I mentioned that a little bit ago. Neptune, okay. One of the things that I find interesting about Neptune, and I've talked about this in various ways, the force of Neptune is very much why there is so much confusion, why things seem to be falling apart. It's necessary for the systems that exist in the world, and even in ourselves, our belief systems, to be dissolved, which creates vulnerability, fear, anxiety, for us to allow ourselves to awaken consciously to other realizations about our true nature and the nature of existence. All right. This Neptune, which is right here, approaching Donald Trump's 8th house, will go into that 8th house, I think, somewhere close to the election. Okay? And ultimately, it won't be too long before Neptune opposes Neptune in his chart. Okay? Now, Neptune as the dissolver going into the house of other people's money, okay, and the ability to do what all that does, it could mean extreme loss for him. Okay, this could be the indication of Neptune here. It could also be for him a period in his life where there may be some, I guess what you would call some salvation for him, in the sense that it would cause him to take a look at his life, take a look at what he's created, at what he's lost, and was it worth it? Okay? You could say that Donald Trump is going through the dark night of his soul. Okay? And he's very much wanting to drag us into that. All right? And that is a possibility. But it doesn't have to be an absolute end result. Okay? And this goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. If enough of humanity can awaken consciously, it can change things. All right? Because when we change, when we see ourselves differently, when we see our life differently, we create situations that the results are different. Okay? The world is as it is because we are who we are consciously. And when we no longer believe in who we are because we've discovered something else about ourselves, then the world will change. Okay? And this goes back to the concept of oneness. Okay? And you can see this work out in your own personal life by how when you get angry, all kinds of things start to go wrong. All right? And you think that that's just bad luck. Well, it's not just bad luck. It's the way the universe is made. If you're filled with anger and rage, hatred for someone else or for yourself, for that matter, okay? You're saying, hurt me. I want hurt. I want you to hurt me. I want to hurt so bad that I quit this, okay? This is how the universe works, okay? And I know that for many, that'll be hard to comprehend, okay? But for those of you that are aware, you are aware of that, okay? You are aware of what negative thinking, negative speech, and things like this, what they do. They reinforce negativity. They are self-torture, okay? And there's plenty of self-torture going on in Donald Trump right now. Neptune squaring, the nodes here. It's really bewildering, the whole thing. People that support him is bewildering. His behavior is bewildering. The fact that he's, being allowed so far, to run for the presidency is bewildering. But it's necessary. One of the things that's necessary to see about the failure of the judicial aspect of things, or the legal aspect of things, is that we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to realize the power. You hear people talking about empowerment. Okay, what is empowerment? It is your ability to create your own reality because of the connection between you and the world. Okay? Pretty powerful statements. Okay? Something that, when it's realized, definitely changes the destiny of our lives. Okay. Donald Trump's Vedic horoscope here. Okay? He's in his Jupiter Dasa, which I've mentioned many times. Here's Saturn, okay, in his transiting chart, which is over here. Okay, this is the natal chart. It's aspecting that Mars. Mars is aspecting that. This is, again, an indication for him of not only the tremendous amount of forces against him, but the anger that he feels, the injustice. I'm sure other astrologers have said this. When you're talking about somebody who is extremely, I guess not necessarily important, somebody who is noticed, okay, will have a lot of planets in conjunction in their life. And you'll see here that he's got Mars conjunct the Ascendant, he's got Saturn conjunct Venus, Sun conjunct Rahu, Ketu conjunct the Moon. This is an indication of somebody who is a very powerful expression of life force. Okay? And it's how you, in a sense, can know whether or not a person's going to have a certain amount of prominence in a particular area of their life. Okay? Whether it be career or whatever. The thing that's interesting here, though, okay, in regards to Trump's situation, okay, again, all this stuff going on, the Saturn over here opposing his natal Mars and the conflict and stuff, Jupiter here is in, okay, the house here that's ruled by Mars, all right, in the best house in the horoscope. It's transiting this house right here, all right, but he's also in his Jupiter Dasa. Okay, there is a protective influence around Donald Trump. It's like the universe has said, okay, karmically, we're going to give you this kind of a life, and you're going to have this much success so far, okay, but we're going to put a leash around you when you're in your late 70s, okay, and we're going to make things look really ugly, and it's going to stir up in people a lot of hatred, okay. It's going to make them see some things about themselves that they're not going to like, okay. It may make them do things they're not going to like, okay, some horrible things, all right, but we're also going to do some things to give them a chance, okay, and that's really what the awakening process is. It's giving us a chance to change the world that has been created, essentially because over the history of humankind, there's been a tendency, because of fear, to give power over to the few that want it, and in essence, we give them control over our lives, all right? We have to stop that, all right? We have to realize, consciously realize, that we do have enough power in ourselves to change a life that is miserable, or we would call it a failure if you want to call it that. We have that ability, all right? But to do that, we have to turn around and look within ourselves and decide what kind of person we're going to be, okay? All right, so going through the whole situation here in regards to this circumstance regarding the fraud trial and stuff, as I've said all along, Donald Trump has been, all right, and probably will suffer a little bit more when it comes to the physical, worldly thing. He could lose everything, okay? I didn't get a chance here to bring up his solar return chart for this year, all right? And I'll just kind of comment on that. He has Saturn in Pisces in the 10th house. He has a bunch of planets in the 12th house, okay? That Saturn, all right, not necessarily the best sign for it. That Saturn could be an indication of him rising to a level prominence, of rulership, so to speak. But it could also indicate, because of the planets in the 12th house, that he's in jail. All right, so like all of astrology, it's kind of a toss-up. Sometimes, rarely, you'll get something that's so absolutely, screaming at you that you go, aha, I feel it'll go this way. But most of the time, it's kind of 50-50, sometimes a little bit more 60-40, all right? So, obviously, he is facing the possibility, okay? But again, I know I say this over and over and over, but it's because I really feel deep inside it's true. With Donald Trump, you're dealing with a karmic situation, because of a karmic situation that is needing to be rectified in the world and also in our country. And we'll know more, obviously, after the election here in this year, 2024. Okay. Thank you for watching. I want to encourage you, again, if you haven't gotten a chance to go over to the platform Substack and look for my newsletter. It's called Knowing Whispers, Messages from the Universe. All right. I'm getting a lot of information daily from my guidance, instructional type of information that'll resonate with you, okay? Help you on the process of your own awakening. So consider that. And also, for those of you that have had a chance to read some of CJ's writing, she also has a Substack newsletter that's growing. It's called CJ's World, all right? And you can check that out as well. And she would love to, share with you her writing, which covers a multitude of things, everything from children to life experiences to, intimate personal experiences of life, with family members and stuff. So I think you'll enjoy that. It'll take some of the sting off of all this craziness that's going on. And finally here, before I say goodbye, I strongly caution everybody to monitor how much TV you watch, particularly the pundits, whether it's Fox News Channel or even MSNBC. Okay, I decided a long time ago to forgo watching Morning Joe. Okay, if I want to know what's happening with less emotion, I'll watch Ari Melber on MSNBC. Okay, and I do that, once in a blue moon, because there's so much negative energy there. And you may not realize it right away, but as these things begin to not go the way you emotionally think they ought, okay, the effect upon you emotionally, okay, talk about fear and depression, well, it gets cranked up, all right, and that's not a good place to be, particularly if you're not meditating. If you're meditating, you know where you can go. If you're not meditating, it can be very painful, okay? Thank you for watching. To my members, to those that subscribe to the channel, for those of you that make donations, it's appreciated tremendously. And I hope this information that I'm sharing with you is of value as well. And I look forward to putting out another video, I think, today. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And let's see here.